Hey everybody, we're back with another episode of NPC, that's Next Portable Console. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is Federico and Ticci. Still no Brendon, but he'll be back soon enough. We've been in close communication with the third member of our trio.
Yes.
How you doing, Federico?
Hello, I'm good. How are you, John?
I'm doing fantastic today. We have feedback, Federico.
This is really good feedback.
It is such good feedback. This is the feedback about the story that we did last week about how Nintendo was discontinuing the use of the 3DS at the Louvre Museum in Paris. And you and I remembered the story, but we hadn't really dug into the details. And we heard from one of the listeners of the show who had visited Paris in 2019 and said to us that they were, let's see, where should I start? They say, what I know a lot about the Louvre's 3DS guide program from that trip and can answer some of the stuff you were wondering about.
Okay.
First of all, the software actually got its own Nintendo Direct when it was released on the eShop, and they think it was about $30 to buy it.
Wow, okay.
Physical copies in multiple languages were also sold in the gift shop of the Louvre Museum. I think it's the only physical region-free 3DS game, which is cool. It can be used in either a home or museum mode because the software is the same on the rented devices and serves as an interactive map. Even in 2019, when I visited, it was super common to see people walking around with the rented systems listening to the commentary. As for the consoles themselves, they aren't anything special, sadly, just original model 3DS systems with the eShop version of the game pre-installed on them and a grip with a neck strap that hid stuff like the home button.
Sure. Okay.
And then they go on to say that they're sad to see they're being removed, but it's amazing that it lasted so long, which I think is kind of what is what we were saying last week. But isn't that amazing that, first of all, I think it's kind of cool, really cool that this was a physical unlocked game essentially for the 3DS, because that was obviously probably the only one that I can think of.
I think so too. All right. Thank you for the feedback. And of course, if you want to send us feedback, you can just go to macstories.net/podcasts and you will find a giant button to send us feedback like this one, to tell us more about maybe something that we talked about in the main show.
It's more of a giant link, Federico. There's no actual button.
Okay, but a link is a button, you know.
Well, if you're Apple, a link is a button, but a button is actually a button, and a link is a link.
It's a link. It's a clickable link that you can click with click with your hands or whatever. Now we have a very Nintendo-focused episode. I mean, the Nintendo Switch is coming out in 3 weeks, so you would expect that we're starting to get a lot more details about the Nintendo Switch 2. Before we get to that, I want to leave you with a teaser. I have been teasing both John and Brendon that I have been working on a massive Ticci-style surprise for the show. The surprise got here today. There was a bit of a challenge involved. I will talk about this in the next episode of NPC, the regular show. I will reveal this surprise, which right now, beyond me and Sylvia, 2 other people know what it is. John doesn't know. Brendon doesn't know. Nobody else knows.
Are the 2 other people anybody that I know?
Yes, but you cannot ask them.
Okay, well, I know who to ask now.
No.
At least one that I can think of.
No, he's been instructed not to tell you. So so he won't tell. But in any case, it's I am so excited about this thing, and
I am too.
We'll talk about it next week. That being said, let's talk about Nintendo. Because we have a bunch of ground to cover. So, John, now let's start with a lawyer adjacent thing. So, Nintendo updated its terms of service for the Nintendo Switch. What are they gonna do if you modify a Nintendo Switch now?
They have reserved the right to brick your Switch. Okay, this was GameFile broke this news by going through the terms of service and looking at the differences. Basically, diffed the differences in the terms of service line by line and went through it. And if you try to bypass, modify, decrypt, defeat, or tamper with the games or their services, then they reserve the right to brick your Switch, which is conceivably possible because it's connected to the internet, and they can probably flip some kind of switch in the OS and do that, which I guess that's their, it's part of the terms of service. I guess that's they're entitled to do that. It's not great, but it is what it is. I mean, buyer beware. If you don't want to, if you're going to tinker with your Nintendo Switch, get it off the internet, first of all. And
yeah. I mean, it was always...
And be careful.
It was always... I mean, I do own a modded Nintendo Switch 1. And it was always common knowledge that you're not supposed to go online, especially when you're loading like the stock firmware with the modification built in. You're not supposed to go online. So always using airplane mode. And only connect to the internet when you're using the pristine stock operating system without the bootloader loaded into memory. But in this case...
Federico.
Yes.
I have breaking news.
Okay.
I have breaking Nintendo news.
Okay, what happened?
One of my kids who lives in California got a ticket to go to the new Nintendo store in San Francisco for an opening this weekend.
Oh my God. It opened yesterday, I think.
I thought it was yesterday too, but I guess they must be ticketing it at least for a few days before it's open to the general public. And so he's going. So I just got a text that asking if I wanted anything from the store. Of course I do.
Oh my God. I'm so jealous. Okay.
And I'm going to be out there in like 3 weeks for WWDC, so I'll get my loot pretty quick.
Nice. Okay. Well,
anyway, sorry to interrupt you, but I've been thinking about the trip to WWDC, and I'm planning to go to the store if I can while I'm in California in a few weeks.
Okay. All right. So in any case, now if you have a modded Nintendo Switch 1, even the more reason not to ever go online with it, because not only will you get banned, and that was the case before, now they will actually brick your console. So don't do it. Now let's talk about the Switch 2. So there's a bunch of details that have been coming out. Most of them, I believe, thanks to the Nintendo Today app. I think they've been putting out like little videos, little details about the Nintendo Switch 2 in the app. Yeah. So the first item that I wanted to discuss, kind of an obvious feature at this point, the Nintendo Switch 2 will have a battery preservation mode. This is the kind of thing that we have seen on the Steam Deck, that we have seen on iOS, on Android phones. You can basically flip a toggle in settings to only charge the Switch 2 up to 90% instead of all the way up to 100%. And that's a pretty regular battery health feature that is going to supposedly extend the life of your battery, in exchange for 10% of the maximum capacity of the battery.
I think it's a good idea. Especially for handheld consoles like this, because I don't know. I mean, I know that I'm not normal in terms of my iPhone purchasing, doing it annually. However, I think most people probably keep a console longer than they keep a mobile phone. So I think that preserving your battery with a Switch is probably a good idea. And you can always turn that feature off if you're traveling and really want to get it up to 100%. And then maybe when you're around your house and you're just putting it in the dock all the time, keep it at 90.
Yeah, I agree. Now, John, what is it about Best Buy and the Switch 2?
So, when we did the pre-orders finally in the United States, Best Buy, Target, and Walmart all sold out within roughly an hour. And there was no indication at the time when and how or whether they would have either more pre-orders or what kind of stock they would have on launch day. And so Best Buy now has indicated that, yes, they are going to have some stock, physical Switch 2s in the stores on launch day. So if you weren't able to get your Switch 2 during the pre-order, there is still hope. But my guess is you'll have to get in a line at a Best Buy very, very early in the morning, if not the night before, and wait for hours like Black Friday sales, style.
Yeah, we're going to see people line up for the Nintendo Switch 2 for sure. Well,
It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I mean, those will go fast. Those will go very fast, I think.
Yeah. Moving on with more Switch 2 stuff, let's talk about performance. So earlier this week, the folks at Digital Foundry published a lot of details from what they believe is a really like verified source. Like they're saying, we have it on good authority that this will be the specs of the Nintendo Switch 2.
They didn't name the source though, did they?
I didn't think. Yeah, they did it. But if there's one publication that deserves our trust when it comes to this stuff, it is.
I agree.
It is Digital Foundry.
100%.
So I don't want to get into the technical details. I'm just going to sum it up and talk about this with you. So essentially, as we were expecting, or I should say, as a lot of people were expecting, and there's a group of people who were like, oh, this is going to be a PlayStation 4 Pro in handheld mode. No. So we should expect a serious performance dip when it comes to portable mode, to handheld mode.
Right.
Essentially, Digital Foundry says that we should expect half the teraflops from this highly custom NVIDIA Ampere architecture. It's a totally custom piece of silicon that NVIDIA made for Nintendo, specifically optimizing for portable mobile usage. So the teraflops will essentially be cut in half when you're using the Switch 2 in handheld mode. And you could just say, well, does that mean that it'll be 50% less powerful? Potentially even more than that, because if you look at some of the numbers, like the memory allocation, for example, the memory speed, like we are looking at, like, let's say if the Nintendo Switch runs at 100%, the Nintendo Switch 2 in docked mode, maybe you can expect that it's gonna run at like 40% or something when it's in handheld mode. Which
don't you think though that the fact that it's not pushing all the pixels of like a big 4K TV is going to kind of mitigate against that a little bit?
Sure, but then it also depends on like how will upscaling work when you are in handheld mode. And if you are in handheld mode, what's your battery look like? Like, are you charging the console as you're playing in handheld mode? Like, is the power plugged in? And in that case, you can probably use it in like handheld but performance mode. Is the Switch approaching 20% of battery left? In that case, I would expect like it's gonna lower the performance even more.
Yeah, it'll throttle it. Yeah,
it'll throttle even more. It's gonna have dynamic resolution. Obviously, like all consoles have dynamic. And not even PCs at this point have like fixed resolutions at this point, because we're all using upscaling and frame generation. But all this to say, like, if you were expecting the Switch 2 to run, at 4K all the time and pushing all those pixels all the time and running at a comparable level to an Xbox Series S, even in handheld mode, like, that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
That's not surprising. I mean, it's just not, it doesn't have the battery in order to, even if it tried to do that, your battery would be so bad that it wouldn't be worth it. It's interesting to me, though, that I feel like maybe, and obviously you won't really know what these things are like until it can actually be tested in the real world. But it seems as though perhaps what we're seeing is a handheld device that is better connected to a TV than the original Nintendo Switch was. That balance between mobile and connected to a TV that spread has widened compared to where the Switch 1 was. Which interesting for a device that's designed. One of the biggest advantages of it is that it's mobile. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I obviously it feels like they're pushing more on the high end of the performance spectrum than the low end. But that said, I still think that the 1080p display with VRR, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. I still think it's even that lesser performance in handheld mode, it's still gonna look so much better than a Switch 1. Like the Switch 1, some games were actually running at like 540p or something in handheld mode on a 720p display. It was rough on the Switch 1. So even with the aggressive performance throttling that Nintendo will most likely do in handheld, I still think it's gonna look so much nicer than the Switch 1. But of course, when you plug it into a TV, that's gonna be super nice. However, we get to the other item. Nintendo is apologizing for misleading people into thinking that variable refresh rate, which is, the display technology that allows the display not to target a specific refresh rate, but to have a variable refresh rate. So that if your game is running at 40 FPS, the screen is also going to adapt to 40 Hertz refresh rate. So that it's always going to be in sync and it looks so much smoother than a display with no variable refresh rate, which is basically the ROG Ally X, which and the Ally 1, I believe, even, which is why it looks which is why it looks so nice, that display, compared to, say, the Legion Go when you have a performance drop. We were thinking, based on the original website for the Nintendo Switch 2, that variable refresh rate was going to be supported in handheld mode and also when docked. But now Nintendo is saying, no, actually, we made a mistake. VRR is only on the internal display. So only in handheld mode. When you dock the Switch 2, you will not have variable refresh rate on your television or your monitor, which seems to suggest that the dock will not be HDMI 2.1. It sounds like it'll be HDMI 2.0 with 4K at 120, and that's it. No variable refresh rate, no other fancy stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of disappointing. 2.1's been around for quite a while now.
It's been around for quite a while, but that leads me to my speculation, which is I could totally see in 2027, early 2028, like in a couple of years, Nintendo Switch 2 OLED with a better display and a better dock.
I think, you might be right. I mean, it is kind of, it's surprising to me, this difference. Maybe I don't know, maybe they feel like they can get away with it because it's going to be, I don't know. I'm surprised. I didn't think that it would be 2.0.
I don't know if it's like, was it a cost-saving measure? Is it a way to upsell people later on an upgraded edition? Is it a combination of the two factors? Maybe.
Yeah.
We can't know. Yeah. Also, there's still more Nintendo stuff. We got details on the other games that on June 5th will also receive software updates with improvements for the Nintendo Switch 2. And I wanna have some highlights here. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet will have higher resolution and better frame rates. Better frame rates. Finally, that game. That game runs badly. It was honestly like the reason why I never really got into Scarlet and Violet because it looked horrible and it ran terribly. And it was the only am I a performance person? We're gonna talk about this on NPC XL. This is I thought I was not a person who cared about performance.
Spoiler, he is.
We're gonna talk about that later.
Okay.
But man, that game was rough. Like, I don't know.
It chugged along. It really chugged.
There's a spectrum. There's like a spectrum of people who were upset that Echoes of Wisdom had frame rate dips, and I didn't care in that case. But Scarlet and Violet was like inexcusable. Like, it just ran so bad.
No,
so
anybody could notice it in that game.
In addition to Scarlet and Violet, there's ARMS is getting an update. There's another game that is getting mouse mode, but I want to shout out Super Mario Odyssey is getting higher resolution and HDR. Also, higher resolution and HDR will also come to Bowser's Fury, but just the Bowser's Fury expansion of Super Mario 3D World. And Echoes of Wisdom and Link's Awakening will also get higher resolution and HDR, but no frame rate improvements for Echoes of Wisdom, which, again, you could see the frame rate dips in Echoes of Wisdom, but they were not as bad as Scarlet and Violet. So
they never really bothered me, and I think HDR and the higher resolution will actually look really good on a TV with those games.
I gotta tell you, Super Mario Odyssey, higher resolution, HDR, and variable refresh rate on the internal screen at 1080p, it's gonna look super nice. I can tell you that. It's gonna look very nice.
Yeah, definitely worth going back to that game, I think.
Yeah. And lastly, John, why don't you tell me about some accessories for the Switch 2?
Yeah, so Hori announced a whole bunch of accessories that are coming for the Switch. Some of them we already knew about, the Hori Piranha Plant camera, which I sold out.
Which I purchased.
It's sold out everywhere now, so good that you got it. But they've also added some other things. They've got a USB play stand, which is basically a very simple stand with a USB connector on that allows you to play in tabletop mode and charge at the same time. We've got the first Hori Pad Turbo, which is the very first Switch Pro controller from a third party. Looks like a nice controller. Then we've got a bunch of different cases here. We've got like a sling bag, a puffy, soft-sided bag, more of a lunch pail style rectangular padded case, and then another USB camera that's just really a kind of a cube-like looking one, not anything. Oh, and a screen protector. So, there's a few things coming here. This is a nice number of accessories that all retail from anywhere between like $50 and $60. Screen protector's just $10, but the rest of them are both mainly like $50, $60, $70 each.
Okay, that's nice. Very nice. I'm glad I got my Piranha Plant camera, so that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. It'll look good on your I don't know, entertainment center there, right?
Well,
or are you gonna do it in your office? Or you're gonna put your Switch in your office, aren't you?
And I think I'm gonna put my Piranha Plant camera on my desk next to my. Let me grab it. Actually, let me grab this.
Okay.
Let me grab it next to my green pipe, where I keep my Apple. Where I keep my Apple Pencil in my green pipe.
I did not know you had a pipe. That's good. I like it.
I'm gonna put the Piranha Plant next to my green pipe. Okay, so I think that's it for the Nintendo updates. We have a lot. We have a bunch more stuff.
This episode of NPC is brought to you by the powerful Inoreader, an RSS reader and content aggregator designed to help you stay ahead and in control of the information you consume online. The new Inoreader Intelligence Suite introduces AI-powered tools that make it faster and easier to process large volumes of content. With article summaries, you can get quick overviews of articles, explore specific aspects, or ask your own questions, all within an Inoreader. You can even adjust the style and language of summaries to match your own workflow and personal preferences. Once you've generated a summary, they're saved and fully searchable inside Inoreader, making it easy to revisit key insights later. Intelligence Reports lets you select multiple articles and instantly generate bulk summaries, comparisons, and sentiment analysis. Each report is saved as a new article ready to annotate, share, and export, ideal for researchers, teams, and professionals working with large volumes of information. You'll also be in control of how AI is applied. Use Inoreader's built-in model and intelligence tokens, or connect your own OpenAI API key. Save time and boost productivity while staying informed with Inoreader Intelligence. Try Inoreader for free and explore AI-powered article summaries with a pro, custom, or team plan. Intelligence reports are available in the new Team Intelligence plan and as an optional add-on to pro and custom plans. Learn more and get started today at inoreader.com or use the link in the show notes. That's inoreader.com. Our thanks to Inoreader for their support of the show.
We have a bunch more stuff. Quick thing, Valve is going to start verifying games that run well, not just on the Steam Deck, but on SteamOS. Because, hey, it's mid-May. That should be happening very soon. We should be getting the first official non-beta releases of SteamOS pretty soon. And sure enough, Valve is rolling out a SteamOS verified badge in addition to Steam Deck verified. So really hope I can put SteamOS on my Legion Go at some point, within the next couple of weeks. I want to talk about two more potentially upcoming handhelds before we move on to NPC XL, where we're going to talk about more handhelds, because that's what we do on this show. The folks at Miyoo, and I'm so sorry that Brendon is not here. It seems like we are getting a Miyoo Mini Flip Mini. I don't know, like a Miyoo Mini Flip smaller. So a Miyoo Mini Flip that is smaller without the sticks, without the analog sticks. So essentially, a Miyoo Mini Flip that is an answer to the Anbernic RG 35X XSP or the upcoming 34X XSP.
Although from the pictures, I would say it looks like it probably has like a 2.8-inch screen. Maybe it's hard to tell. These were Brendon actually gave us this link. He found it on Reddit on the Miyoo Flip subreddit, and it's not clear what size it is, but it was sitting next to the regular Miyoo Flip, and it was definitely smaller than that one. It just doesn't have the thumbsticks. Otherwise, it looks basically the same.
Yeah. So interesting. Like I wonder why. Like, did they see the pretty warm reception? Like, I think people like the Miyoo Mini Flip. But there's an argument to be made that with that kind of device, what are the sticks for? Like, are you really gonna play PlayStation games or PSP games on a Miyoo Mini Flip, or is it just for Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Super Nintendo, and Sega systems? And if that's the case, why not make a smaller, more pocketable version that costs even less and is optimized just for 2D games?
Right. I think I saw speculation that the internals are going to be exactly the same, and I kind of. To me, I'm more interested in this device, actually, because I did find that I wasn't really using the sticks at all, and this just allows them to make it smaller, and smaller is good for this kind of device. It'll be perfect for, Game Boys, SNES, all those games. It'll be a nice size for that kind of thing, and it'll fit in your pocket better. Not that the Miyoo Flip is too big, but it doesn't hurt to make it a little bit smaller, especially if what you're eliminating is something that you're probably not using a lot anyway, or at least a lot of people are not using a lot.
Yeah. And this second news item, I pasted it in our Discord, and I wrote, "This is pure Brendon."
It sure is.
It seems like we got a blurry shot, and based on that blurry photograph,
of a cardboard box. I think the first photo was.
So keep all this in mind. It's a blurry shot of a cardboard box, and then we have a render based on that. But it seems like Anbernic may be releasing an RG Slide, essentially an Xperia style, PSP Go style handheld with a display that slides on the top, and you have the controls on the bottom. And I mean, if you know Brendon, this is the kind of stuff that Brendon absolutely loves. He's the guy who, carries around the PSP Go with a giant battery on the back. But I gotta tell you, John, depending on specs and depending on price, this looks very intriguing to me. This flip out, what do you call this? Like flip out style?
Flip up, I guess. I would call it like slide up, flip up, whatever.
Slide up, yeah. Whatever, that thing, like Xperia style for me, because like the Sony Xperia phones for me were like the sort of design blueprint.
Yeah, Sidekick was another one. Sidekick was like a mobile phone type of messaging hardware, not a game thing. But yeah, I think this looks amazing to me. I really like the idea of it. That sent me down the path of comparing it side by side, this blurry shot with the MCON controller, which we've talked about in the past, that's coming for the iPhone, just to see how it differed in design in terms of the where the sticks are and the buttons and everything. And it is different. It's definitely different. I thought maybe I kind of had half wondered whether somebody was using MCON renders or diagrams or pictures to suggest that Anbernic was doing something that they weren't. But it is different. So I don't know. I don't know. It looks great.
Yeah, we'll see what they do. I'm really intrigued by what's the display gonna look like? What are the specs gonna be like? How much is it gonna cost? We'll see. But I don't know. Anbernic has been doing a few interesting things in this first half of the year. Now, before we go, John, what's happening next week, and why should we? We should be excited
because Computex is coming to Taiwan, and Computex is kind of like CES for Asia. It's a big trade show that happens every year at the end of May, and traditionally a lot of the Asian-based manufacturers show up to Computex and announce a lot of things. Usually you'll see Asus and Lenovo and a bunch of other big companies, and a lot of the things that maybe showed off in a very preliminary way at CES in January get prices, get dates, Plus, there'll be new things that are teased for maybe the holiday season towards the end of the year. So Computex should be a place where we'll see maybe some controllers, maybe some of these Windows handhelds, especially with SteamOS on the horizon. We could see more information and news about that. I think it'll be interesting and give us some new topics for next week.
Yeah. All right. We'll see. Really hope that it's the official announcement of the new RG.
Yeah, we're close, right? We keep seeing teases and things. I would think that it would absolutely be then, especially since I think Microsoft Build is happening right about the same time.
Yeah. All right. That about does it. In NPC XL, we are going to talk about... I need to share some thoughts about the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 after spending a little more time with it, and also some more thoughts on tablet gaming and just me as a gamer in 2025.
I am looking forward to the tablet discussion in particular, because I have been on the cusp of becoming a tablet gamer, and I need to get I want to bounce some things off you.
Okay. All right. We're going to do that.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. If you want to join the Patreon so you can get access to NPC XL as well as Federico's wonderful and funny outtakes for links that we don't get to each week that he does every couple of weeks, you can find that by going to Patreon. Just search for NPC. You'll find that, and it's $5 a month. You can find Brendon over at wavelengths.online. He's still over there. You can find his stuff. He's done a little writing since he's been in Japan already. And he also co-hosts Into the Aether, a wonderful low-key video game podcast. And Federico and I are over at macstories.net, where we write. And we also do a bunch of other shows as well. So check us out there. And if you want to find us on social media, just search for our names. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Bye, everybody.